I was muted. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I'm going live. A little bored maybe, and yeah. So let's just get started, I guess. So, I'm not sure what exactly I was planning to do. I know something involving art. Ugh, my brain is not working. Give me a moment. Let me see if I could do. I'm double checking things. Give me a moment. Okay, I'm figuring out things. Okay, whatever. Maybe I should just figure it out next time, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so what I was planning to do, art, of course. I don't. Hold on, wait. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to do these things. I am new to streaming. Again, I'm doing this for fun and also because I'm curious. How do I... Oh, wait, I got an idea. Give me a moment. You know what? How do I... Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm being quiet, but that's because I'm new to all of this. Okay. You know what, actually? I was gonna do this thing, but maybe not. Okay. You know, ignoring what I was gonna do, let's just get to it. So, there was this character that I was gonna do for like an updated lore. For my updated lore, where I wanted to draw like an experiment that went wrong. I never got around to doing it though, because I'm an idiot. But that's fine. And sorry, I'm just making sure I got the colors. And basically what I was gonna be was just like this like zombie like person that would just like occasionally pop up on my screen being like, yo, this is my friend. I don't know how to describe it if I'm being honest. And basically it was just me just like effing around with the magical abilities of a necromancer. And I just ended up reviving someone, but I did it horribly. So, and I didn't thought of a name for them. I just knew that I wanted them to look like they were... I knew that I wanted them to be like covered in bandages. I wanted them to not really have like a human complexion. I wasn't sure about the majority of the details. Like right now, I'm just kind of guessing what I was gonna make them look like. And hope for the best, I guess. So, bluish skin is so far all I'm getting at for like zombies. And the joke with this character was gonna be the fact that they couldn't talk because I was gonna put bandages over like their mouth. I knew that one for sure. And should I give them black eyes or... Nah. Anyways. They were just gonna be voiceless the entire time, and I wanted them to look like both cool but in like a frightening sense. Like I wanted their head to be floating off of their neck. That sounds kind of grotesque, but it's not as weird as it sounds. And I wanted like bandages because, you know, zombie, oh my god. But I couldn't think of anything at the time when I was making my lore video, because the lore video is just how I met Creep. this being that not that many people know or are aware of. So yeah, now this character where they were supposed to come later on if I were to ever continue my lore, but I'm lazy, of course. And it's also pretty night. It's like nighttime right now, so I'm talking relatively quiet, so sorry for that. I don't know what color dyes to give them. But yeah, all I knew is that they wanted to be I wanted them to be like a zombie, and then they're there. And if they were to ever get a voice, it would probably be me voicing them. What color dye should I give them? Should I give them... Sure, you know, I'll give them this color. Okay. Let me make sure everything's working. I always feel like first time streaming, I'm gonna look back at this and be like, wow, I'm cringing at myself. Cause true, but hey, gotta learn somehow. And I'm trying to also force myself to talk, cause unless if I'm at work, I don't talk at all. Also, the good thing about streaming is that you guys can see how I draw without it being like a speed paint. My art is quite dumb, and don't judge the fact that I use MS Paint. Of course I use MS Paint. Now anyways, enough talking about this character. That's the character I'm drawing right now, but the title of this stream is literally stories and stuff like that, so hold on, give me a moment. Yeah, the stream and stories. Give me a moment. I'm trying to fix some things because life is being cruel. Alright. So, I'm gonna just randomly start describing stories that I made oh so long ago that I cringe at myself for sometimes, but whatever, it's fine, it's fine. So, a long time ago, I'm gonna try to remember how the story went. So, I'm going into story mode. I'm not talking about an actual life experience. So, if you're listening to my story, wow, have fun. So, wait, what were the characters' names? You know, I'll just call them girl and boy, so, sorry. Okay. Halfway through the year, a new guy came to my school. Something about him didn't sit right with me. I didn't know how to describe it, but it's just maybe his eyes. They were friendly, but yet intense. It didn't feel right to look directly into his eyes. I dropped, and then when I dropped my eraser on the ground, he picked it up, and as his hand grazed mine, I couldn't help but feel a shiver up my spine. Something was definitely not right. Trying to remember the story is difficult, and I wrote it. Okay. I keep finding myself running into him. Either it be in the cafeteria, in the halls, in the lunchroom, anywhere. I can never seem to get rid of him. He always has this smile on his face. It honestly makes... Gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to say the story. He has this smile that draws everyone in, and everyone seems to enjoy being around him. But me, I feel like I have to stay away. As the days go by, people suddenly started to go missing. People that were close to him. It started to get out of hand, and even more people started to disappear before my eyes. This has to stop. So, the only thoughts I had was to, drawing and saying stories. Terrible. The only way for this to stop is if I confront him. So I did. I put a letter in his locker and told him to meet me at the park. Dun dun dun, it's nighttime. Focus mode, give me a moment. Okay. I waited by the bench, holding on tight to my bag. It was night, and there was barely anyone out. It was just me and the birds that were still up. Man, I'm way better for describing a story in writing than I am at trying to recall what I wrote. And this story is very cringe, by the way. Eventually, I heard footsteps. When I looked over, it was him. He smiled at me, that same smile he gives everyone. I stood up from the bench. And my memory, okay. And struggled to speak. You needed something? He asked. I gulped as I slowly reached into my bag. You draw everyone in, I said. Everyone likes to be around you. Everyone wants to be with you. And now everyone is disappearing when they associate themselves with you. The boy looked away with a frown. I genuinely don't know what's going on. Every time I make a friend, they just disappear. I know it's not my fault. I just don't know what's going on, he said. The girl slowly cracked a smile. I know it's not your fault, she said. She pulled out a knife, oh my god, and yank, stomp, whatever. She dumped on the dude, basically, and like held the knife to him. She'd be like, yo, I'm the one that's I'm trying to make this serious, but I can't. I'm the one that's making all these people vanish. And like homie's like, what? But you know, can't speak because scared. And she's like, yeah, it's me because I'm obsessed with you. You know, I feel like I could have described that way better if I actually read the story itself, but I don't remember how I did it, man. But yeah, it was basically a twist story, but I did it garbage-like, where you think it was the dude that is the creeper, because yo, homie, the main character, she feels sus when he's around. But no, it turns out she's the one that's the freaking yandere weirdo. Gosh. Da, da, da. Art. Okay, let me see. Is there a better story that I can remember? You know, actually, there was this one story that I actually wanted to make into a comic, but I made it so overly complicated that I just couldn't, which was sad. I'm not gonna say it now, because if I do remake it, I want to remake it like with a fresh mind rather than just trying to regurgitate what I remember writing. But there's this other story that I'm willing to talk about. It was like a story that I never thought I was going to complete, and I think I won't be able to complete it because I'm lazy. It's like almost Silent Hill inspired, because it's basically like about like the main character gets transported to this shady town, and there's some weird ass creatures. What the frick is going on? But it's, you know, not fully the same as Silent Hill, of course, because, you know, Silent Hill, it's more deeper than the nonsense I was thinking. And the story basically, it starts with just like the main character being like, dang, my car broke down. Sad, stereotypical, weird nonsense that starts the plot. And like he was close to a town, and he was like, okay. And like the town, I can't remember what the name was, but I think it involved something about a rose or thorns. It was something along those lines, maybe a rose thorn, probably something else though. And he's like, maybe if I think he like just needed gas actually. He was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the town, get some gas, and I'll be on my merry way. So he walked to the town, and like the strange thing about the town is that the surroundings were covered in like bushes, like dead or alive, mostly dead bushes with a couple of beautiful like rose flowers. And homie ignored that, of course, because like the path that he was on, the road, was clear. So they basically just walked into the town, and it was a straight up ghost town, man. Like no one was out in the streets. There was like some buildings that looked quite broken. Like homie was confused. He's like, what the heck is going on? And then like hears some sus noise going around. He's like, what? Huh? And then within the story, for some reason I switched perspectives at some point, and the perspective switched to this monstrous looking dude, or a dude who was kind of a monster. but you know, relatively sane. And give me a moment. I don't know what kind of nose to give them, because I'm used to doing these noses, but anyways, actually I think it started off with the monster's perspective. So the monster was like running in town and then hid in a building, and it was like trying to catch their breath, you know, and then they looked at their hand, and their hand had numbers. That's important for later on in the story. And like as they were trying to catch their breath, they hear the voice of the dude whose car broke down, and they're like, "You got to be kidding me, who the frick is that?" They don't look like a monster, so they're obviously not a threat, but they're going to lure in some ugly motherfrickers to my locale, my location. I gotta stop them. So, and like the kid, the dude, whatever, the teen, homie didn't look exactly monstrous. It was just like, so far they know how to change their appearance to look less creepy. So they basically kind of just ran at the dude in the town, being like, "Shut the frick up, you get in here," and then just drags them into a building that wasn't, you know, like had residents. And the main character, the dude whose car broke down, was like, "What the frick is going on? You're like the only person I've seen like at all." And the monster person that doesn't look like a monster right now was like, "Okay, listen, you're not safe, I'm not safe. If you talk, we're dead." And they're like, "What you mean?" And then they hear like a monstrous growl. And of course that will scare anyone, man. If you hear like a monstrous like thing, the main character was like, "What the frick was that?" And then like the monster guy had to like cover his mouth, being like, shut up, I will kill you myself." So of course the main character like quiet down and just looked out the window with the other dude, and they saw this like creature. I'm not quite sure how I described it. I think it looks like it was large, hairy, but also like it's like hairy in most areas though, but like should they be smart? No, wait, their mouth is covered. What am I talking about? Okay, so they looked outside and they saw this like, it was like skinny waist, big torso that looked like a rib cage that just like was about to burst open. Like there was like some hanging nastiness coming from it. And of course, you know, the main character, the dude whose car broke down, was like, "What the fudge is going on? What is that thing?" And like its face looks like a skull or something. I don't know. It had like antlers. Can't remember the full detail. And of course, you know, being the main character, seeing a monster for the very first time in their life, they're like, What? Shouldn't we be scared?" And like the other monster guy was like, "No, because look at me." And like, you know, revealed fangs, sharp freaking hand, you know, they can shapeshift. And like the main character's like, "Oh, well, this is totally not normal. I think I should probably go back to my car." And the monster guy was like, "Yeah, tough luck, buddy. You can't." And they're like, "What you mean?" And then when the coast was clear, but actually wait, before the coast was clear, they heard like a creepy voice. Let me try to reenact. It's like okay. Actually, let me take a sip of water before I say this. Oof. So they basically hear a little girl's voice, and all she said was, "Mommy? Daddy?" Like, that sounded so weird coming out of my mouth. And basically they were calling out for someone, and like the monster dude, knowing what's good, is like, "Yep, this isn't good. Shut your mouth." And basically like covered the mouth of the main character. And then this floating little girl, creepy as frick, like, but like her eyes were like completely like soulless voids or of nothingness, and she couldn't see, so they were lucky about that. And she just like walked past and went back upstairs. So the monster dude was like, "Yep, we're not safe here. Let's go to a different location, okay?" And basically dragged the main dude away. And hold up. Okay. And they went to a more safer area, I guess. A more safer area, kind of debatable. They went to a shack. Let's be honest, that's not really safe. And the main character obviously pushed himself off of the monster dude and was like, what the frick is going on? What is happening? And then the monster guy says, okay, look through the small window. Do you see those thorn bushes? And they're like, yeah. They're like, yeah, it's pretty tall and then like pretty thick vines and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, we're surrounded by that, and there's no way you or I can leave without breaking the curse. And it's like, curse? He's like, yes, curse. You see, there was this very like suspicious guy in the town who caused all of this, and the only way to get rid of this curse is by straight up murdering him. And the main character was like, I have to kill someone? He's like, no, you don't have to kill him, I can kill him, but we have to find him, that's the issue. And so the main character's like, okay, that's the only way to freedom. And then like the weirdo dude was like, yes, that's the only way to freedom. He's like, oh, fine, how do we find him? And he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no clue. This place is surrounded by a whole lot of monsters that are yeah, they were once the townsfolk. And it's like, oh, that's concerning. And he's like, of course it is. So concentration. Okay, this design's gonna be so weird. Okay, so the main character's like, okay, so we find the guy. How do we find the guy? We have no clue, so we just have to look for clues, essentially. He's like, yep, that's our best bet. So he's like, okay, fine, we'll do that. And they basically scour. I should have done the ears first. They basically search around the town, hoping that they could find anything at all about this mysterious curse bringer dude. And I'm not good at drawing ears, okay? Give me a moment. Decent. So, and then they found, but wait, actually, I think there was a way. Okay, the monster dude was like, okay, in order to find that dude, we have to find all of these things, because he locked himself in this like barrier that can only be opened when we like shatter all of these like ritual symbol thingies. Main character's like, yeah, I'm gonna probably die before we do that. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I can die for you. And like the main character's like, excuse me? And like the numbers, aha, like I mentioned before, important. He's like, yeah, these numbers, these are the amount of times I can die. And he's like, what? I can't remember how many. He was like, maybe it was like a 50 something or more, I can't remember. And the main character's like, how do you have that? And he's like, long story, let's just continue on this journey. And basically the journey takes them into many areas, like either it be like a school, a hospital, some random ass hotel, and like each place has like its own heck of monsters, good, bad, mostly bad, and they have to somehow find what they're looking for and hope for the best, basically. And give me a moment. Okay. I don't even know where I'm going with this drawing at this point. What hair? I'll give them black hair. And like I think the reason why I couldn't continue it is because I couldn't for the life of me figure out what they were going to encounter and how they would basically survive through those encounters, which is kind of dumb because for a writer you'd think I'd be able to, but me, I'm good at writing beginnings, or decent I guess, love the ideas I have for endings, can never execute the middle parts too well. And basically, and throughout the whole journey, they're learning about like what's happening. Well, specifically the main character is learning what the heck is happening and what happened to the town. It turns out the one who cursed the town was like basically like almost like a village outcast, I guess you could say. Like people didn't like that person. They thought he was weird, and the fact that he went into the wooded thorns area and did some weird ass spell garbage thingies, whatever he did, I can't remember, man, it's been a while. I didn't even name half of these characters. So yeah, he was like, oh, he was outcast and that's why the people didn't like him, and because of that nonsense, homie wanted to take revenge out on them. What bangs do I give you? I hate figuring out bangs. I'll just go with the flow. Um, the main character was like, I don't know if I should feel sad for the person or think they're pathetic because of the fact that they were too much of an out, that the fact that they were the ones who were socially weird about everything. I mean, because like I knew I intended to make that dude like a weirdo. I can't remember how I was gonna do it. And then at the end, when they finally wreck all the stuff, found the evil dude is like, haha, joke's on you. I can change into a monster like your companion, the one with the numbers on his hands. Epic battle, epic fight, but the downside is that he doesn't have the numbers that help him revive, so, you know, that's basically a handicap. And in the end, obviously, the big bad guy dies. But here's the strange thing, man. Here's the strange thing. Here comes the revelation that the main character didn't realize. The bad guy all along was actually the companion monster dude that was with him all along. Because it turns out he was the one to convince the strange outcast to do the strange ritual. He's the one that robbed like a spell from his book or whatever. It's weird magic, I'm gonna say that now. And basically the spell was, the reason why he has all those numbers in his hand is because they're like the number of like the townsfolk he murdered just to have their life, so if he ever died he can come back. So, you know, the asshole all along was the friend you thought was with you throughout your entire journey. And I don't know how I was gonna end it. I didn't know if I was gonna make like the monster dude being like, okay, I'm gonna wreak havoc somewhere else now that I'm free from this town, or he straight up murdered the main character. I wasn't sure how I was gonna end it, but it was gonna be something along those lines. I am talking way too much. Something that I'm not good at. I'm doing that. I'm kind of proud of myself. Let me take a sip of water. Okay. And you know, if there was a way for me to look at chat, I would, but I don't really care about it right now. So, bangs? I'm still not good at drawing bangs. I would do the highlights in the eyes, but I can't. But yeah, that was basically like my whole idea of what I wanted to do for that story, but I never got around to doing it or completing it. I might revisit it, honestly, because now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, ooh, kind of interesting, but I feel like I might overcomplicate it with the magic stuff because I tend to normally do that. So yeah, that was a story I wrote a whole long ass time ago. I should really stop cursing. Okay. And then other stories I wrote. So I used to like write a bunch of stories like when I was younger. They were like all privated and they were like in a very, very old channel. Ooh, sorry, old channel. I'm thinking now. And many of them were strange. For example, there was this one that I actually kind of was going to turn serious, but I forgot to. Or just never got around to finishing it. And my mouth did a weird noise. Or my throat did a weird noise. And it was basically this girl. The best way to describe her is she loves rainbows. She's blonde. And she seems like she would be like that bad bitch. And basically, her whole story was just her, where she has like a very big imagination, even all the way up to like her like college years. And suddenly, what the frick is going on? Suddenly, her dreams are coming into reality. That is so strange. How is that happening? She doesn't have any answers. The people in her dreams didn't have any answers. They're in the real life now. And they just gotta live with it. And like her parents, because she still lives with her parents, don't ask, was like, honey, you know, we're home, how you doing? And they're like, I gotta hide my imaginary friends, who are now real, question mark? And the imaginary friends, so she had like this friend from the past who she lost contact with, so to cope, she basically made an imaginary version of her friend, but for some reason, I don't know why, I was like young when I wrote the story, the friend was straight up like a neko, like a cat girl, and I was like, okay, well that's a thing. And my brain is trying to remember so hard from the stories I wrote from ages ago. And it was animated. Well, not animated. It was like an animatic at most. And thinking. Anyways, ignoring that. Cat. So one was like a cat girl of her old friend. I think I remember her name. I think it was like Mia. Mary, I think it was Mary actually. And that's all I remember. And then there was the imaginary dude character who was like for some reason obsessed with her, but she didn't like him, which was strange because like that's your imaginary friend. You could make it so they don't like find you attractive. Do you secretly just like the attention, girl? And that was like, I guess I just thought that would be funny, so I just like, kept it in the story. And basically the whole story was just her like having a goof balls funniness balls a goof laughter's times with like the imaginary people, and like she can do stuff with her dreams. And then at some point she encounters like these very like interesting magical beings. If I had an image of them I would pull them up, but I don't, sadly. But they're like twins, and they're like, okay, hey, what's up? You know that power you have? Yeah, we don't know how you have that. It's only for like beings like us. And it's like I made that so complicated. I was like, what was I was like 13, younger when I made that. It was a whole lot of weirdness, but there was some magical beings. And bro, I got some, I don't know how I did it, but for some reason there's chemistry between like the cat girl and the dude twin. it was interesting to say the least. What was in my mind? And like the way I was gonna take the story, I'm not sure where I was gonna take it, but I was gonna take it somewhere where at first it was gonna be like innocent fun, a lot of good times. But then she meets this dude who seems like he's cool, because that's what he is. Like he's supposed to be like a stereotypical like cool guy that everyone likes, and he has like this like companion friend, this girl that like is like so beautiful, and everyone's like, dang, are they dating? And he's like, no, she's just my friend. And they're like, okay, sir, yeah, if whatever you say. And what am I doing with this hair? Okay. And the dude was it turns out the dude has the same powers that the main character girl has, but he's mean, he's evil, because like at some point, I don't know why, what was his motives? I think it was just him wanting to be the only one with the power, or maybe he was jealous or something. I can't remember. It was some weird nonsense where he ended up kidnapping like that one dude that has like the hots for the main character, and straight up like I don't know what he did, but like apparently in my mind I was like, okay, he straight up tortured the dude into hating the main character. And you know, some weird nonsense ensues. I realize I hate drawing top of hairs. Some nonsense ensues, and he's like, dang it, man, he was my boo. She obviously didn't say that. She was too into herself to be into him. And I don't know how I was gonna end the story. I just knew that the once imaginary friend she had turned on her, and that's it. That's all I remember. And I feel bad. That's all I remember. Water is so good. But yeah, that was the story, and I was like, huh. And then there was this other story I wrote so long ago as well, where it was like a zombie apocalypse. I think it was actually more like Fallout inspired, because many things inspired me. And the story went of like this girl, she somehow survived the nuclear fallout despite being in just like a very average house. Like she should have been dead, man. Man, it was so stupid, like the way I did it, where she's like, oh, I used to have brown hair, now I have like a blue colored hair. Like, bro, it was this color. And she's like, yep, that's totally normal. That's how radiation works. Instead of looking like a grotesque monster, I still look like myself, pretty and all, but blue. Because everything about her was now blue. Because I'm obsessed with the color blue for some reason. And, anyways, she found a note. Somehow, her sister, who's like a scientist or something, and she knows what the heck's going on. I don't know how she ended up leaving the note there, but she did. Maybe it was like freaking like a drone sent it or something. Where it's like, hey, sissy, what's up? You know, sorry to do this, but like, the world is kind of going to garbage. So yeah, you know, come find me. How will you find me? Just go to my lab. You know where my lab is. And like the sister's like, do I? I guess I do, because yeah, I guess why not? And like she had this like the sister. Okay, this is where the story gets weird. The sister's like, oh, by the way, here's this collar. It's gonna come in handy when you find yourself a pet. Put it on them. And like the main character was like, okay, sure, whatever. And she finds like this cute dog. You know, the dog was inspired by my actual dog in real life, Panda, rest in peace. And she's like, ah, a companion, woohoo! And basically slapped the collar. Not slapped, but, you know, gently put the collar on the dog, and the dog somehow, with some weird nonsense, so it felt more like magic, man, than actual, like, scientific logic thing. They turned human. They straight up turned human. How the frick did this dog turn human? Oh, the collar has radiation that made it bleh. I was a dumb child when I wrote that. But yeah, and now it's the companion, a protector, older brother almost kind of vibe. That dog was. And then she had like a second collar. She found a cat, and then boom, cat girl. I think I just wanted an excuse to draw like a cat girl and dude. Man, this hair is ugly. A cat girl and like a wolf dude. And my dog was just inspiration, so I was like, yeah, woohoo. And they're basically like the girl was like besties, and like the dog was all like, you're now my sister. And it's like, what the frick is happening? And then at some point she runs into this like strange organization where like this dude who calls himself like the king or whatever was like, ooh, you're pretty blue and stuff like that, whatever. I want you as my bride. And she's like, the frick? No. And he's like, yeah, you don't have a choice because this is Fallout world, and you do as I say, because I am the one who has the most currency in this ruined world. And she's like, dang, I'm trapped. But then, the love interest. Ooh, the love interest. I don't think he was meant to be the love interest, but I made him the love interest at some point because I couldn't help myself, I guess. This dude was like, hey, so I know your sister, by the way, and I was only working for this organization for like a while because, you know, I'm a mercenary, you know. I do jobs for pay, and I just so happened to run into you. Now that I see you, I can get my money from your sister and I can take you to her, so it's a win-win for both of us. And she's like, okay, save me. And the homie saves the dog, the cat, and the main character. And like they got like, it was like some weird nonsense that ensued. Took a lot for them to escape. My dog! Give me a moment. Okay, they calm down. And yeah, they escaped. Woohoo! And you think that they're gonna have a merry good journey. And then they somehow get caught in a trap, and the trap was like from a bunch of children in an orphanage. And then like they're like, oh, you're that one scientist lady's sister? We know her. And then she's like, how does everyone know my sister? He's like, anyways, we can help you. Here's some supplies. We'll cut you down from your restraints or from the trap you were in, and have yourself a good time and be safe and say hello to the scientist lady for us. You know, she's a sweetie. And then they went on their merry way, and then they came across this cave, and they're like, yeah, it's a shortcut. Let's take it. But then boom, some sadness ensues. Because the cave starts to collapse, and they for some reason got separated, and at some point the cave completely like caved in with the cat girl inside, and like bruh, the main character, she was distraught because she built a friendship with her. Now that she's dead, quote unquote dead, of course it hurt her feelings quite a lot. She didn't want to leave, so they stayed there like the whole night. But when like she didn't like come back or anything like that, they're like, yep, we have to give up, we have to go, you know, we still have to find your sister. And you know, reluctantly she was like, fine. Tears. And they went to continue the journey. But here's the funny thing. Oh, also the reason why the cave-in happened is because they were getting chased by a monster inside. Anyways, what the heck am I drawing? You know, I'm just doodling at this point. And so it turns the cave-in, but here's the funny thing. The cave-in it did crash on top of the cat. I can't remember what her name. Maybe it was like Caddy or something. Katie, maybe. I can't shoulders today. Okay. I can't do shoulders today. And trying to remember. So the cave-in did fail, but she was surprisingly fine. Like she had like scratches, of course, but nothing too bad. While the monster that was chasing them, it was like this mutated, like, werewolf-looking thing. That's the best way I could describe it. And she's like, huh. Yeah, I'm still kind of stuck because like there was not really an exit for her to leave out of, so she's just talking to the monster, and the monster's kind of just listening, and they somehow, funniness, that's her love interest, built a friendship, built a bond together. And when the monster finally, you know, healed up, because, you know, mutation, healing powers, whatever, the monster was like, okay. Well, the monster couldn't speak, obviously. So it's like, let me take you to a place that's safe. And that's what they did. And they spent their journey trying to regroup back to the main cast, while also getting into their own shenanigans. What is the word? Anyways, but back to like the group, you know, defeated, thinking she's dead. They return to their journey. The main character was obviously still distraught. Some weird nonsense ensue with a bunch of gangs or something, and like zombies and like mutation monsters, and like you know, being that the terrain was like completely different from how normal world was, because, you know, everything's kind of dry, kind of, you know, radioactive and stuff like that. And I need another sip of water. Damn it. I am not much of a talker, okay? I don't know what kind of torso to give them. I'll figure that out later. And at this point, this should just be considered a Halloween live stream, because I'm drawing like a monster. Anyways, some shenanigans, but eventually they finally catch up to where like the sibling was, and like also somehow the cat girl and the monster returned, and she's like, yo, the monster's chill, they're my friend. And they're like, kind of suspicious, but all right, we trust. And then the sister was like, oh, hello. And the sister, she's crazy, man. She's like batshit crazy. Like she has like her hair high up in a ponytail. She has like these big thick glasses or something, and she's just always jumpy. And she's like, oh, you survived. I'm happy to see you, sibling. Oh my gosh, you have a monster in your journey? The monster seems relatively tame. Here, have a collar. And then they slap the collar. I keep on like wanting to yawn. They slap the collar on the monster, and they're like, so they're gonna be turning into human now. Well, like closest thing to human, because they still have like their animalistic features. And like, bro, the monster was quite handsome, if I'm being honest. I never drew them, but I knew that they were gonna be handsome. And what the frick did I want the clothes to look like? I'm looking at references, give me a moment. You know what? Sure. Okay. Okay. And like, handsome monster character, oh my gosh. And where I was gonna take the story from there, I don't know. The whole goal of the story was just to find the sister, and I couldn't think of what the heck to add next. Like, what? They can't stop the fallout. The fallout already happened. Like, the world is already messed up as is. They can't really do anything about that. But they could try to, like, improve it, I guess. So maybe that's where I wanted to take the story, but I never did, because, you know, I gave up on that channel so long ago. And then there's another story. This is cringe. So, I wrote this one story heavily, well, not heavily, but semi-inspired by, I'm gonna hate the fact that I'm admitting this, by diabolical lovers, of all things. Don't ask. I don't know why, out of all things, that was the one that inspired me. But it was like completely different. Like, not like, well, semi-different actually. It's not like a similar like premise of like a reverse harem kind of vibe. A reverse harem is like a girl surrounded by dudes, right? I think so. Okay, sorry, I'm thinking and failing. And basically, the story starts off with this. She's at like the mall, or not the mall. Where is she actually? She's out in the town, and she comes across like this antique shop, and she spots like this mirror that glinted in the glass, like through the window, and she was like, "Ooh, I'm kind of mesmerized. I gotta see how much that thing costs, cause I kind of want it." So, of course, being the naive person they were, not realizing that, oh, it's probably a cursed object. They bought it. The shopkeeper was hecka sus. I think I wanted the shopkeeper to be like someone important in the future, but I kind of forgot about that idea. And when she went home, she was, she was talking to her friend, and her friend attempted to ask her out and like kind of failed, because he's like, he's like, hey, you want to go to the movies? And she's like, oh yeah, is the girl best friend of ours also coming? And he's like, no, I was talking about you and I. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Wouldn't she be mad if she found out that, we're going alone? And he's like, I'm trying to ask you out. And she's like, what? Anyways, I gotta go, it's nighttime. I gotta sleep, I got responsibilities in the morning. And he's like, oh, okay. Being a sad nerd. And, as she was getting ready, she saw the mirror one more time, and she picked it up. She looked at herself in the mirror. She touched the mirror, like caressing it with her fingertips, being like, wow, this mirror is quite beautiful. And then, boom, light started to surround her. She's like, what the heck is going on? What is happening? Ah! And then she gets sucked into the mirror. Yep, she gets sucked into the mirror. And, of course, being the frightened person that anyone would be, was like, what the heck is going on? Why am I in this mirror? What is happening to me? They start observing the castle, and then this is where things get very similar to Diabolical Lovers. Oh, I'm ashamed. And basically, I want to add stitches later. She comes across this dude, very sus redhead, just like Diabolical Lovers, and he's like, oh, a human. You shouldn't be here, you know that. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, anyways, smooch. And that's already weird enough, that the fact that he's like kissing her. But the thing is, it's like a weird monster species that I made up, where they kiss someone, like it could be like on their hand, on their cheek, on their lips, anywhere, and then they just basically take their life force, is the best way I could describe it. And man, I don't want to draw a torso. I'm too lazy to draw torsos. Give me a moment, I'm thinking. Okay. And here's the strange thing about her. Her life force didn't went down. Well, it did. Like, he could see her life energy, and like it shows like by a glow around her. And like the glow like slightly faded, but then it brightened back up again later, and he's like, what the? That shouldn't happen. I should have taken like a few years off your life. How did that happen? So obviously she's like, what the frick is going on? Slaps your face, runs away. She's like, what is happening? What is going on? Why did that dude kiss me? I feel like I should be concerned for my life. What the heck? How do you do torsos? You know what? Ditch the torso idea. I'm just doing this. And then she comes across the other brothers. A dude who has like gloves that have like strings, like Spider-Man almost like. And he's like, yo, what the heck are you doing here? And then she's like, ah. And then the mature dude, the mature brother of all of them was like, why is there a human here? Kind of a little irritated. The kinder brother of the rest was all like, oh, that's something. Why do we have a human here? And of course, being overwhelmed, she's like, what the heck? And passes out. And man, this design is kind of relatively lazy, but it's fine, because I'm trying to just do this fast, and maybe one day I'll revisit it. And of course she passes out. She's like, I don't feel good anymore. And like the brother who kissed her was like, hey, something's different about this human. And they're like, okay, we'll hear you out. And then there's a time skip. The next day, she wakes up. She's like in this like lavish, fancy, because like she's like straight up in a mansion. She's in like this lavish like mansion looking kind of area, and she's like in this like royal like bedroom in like this fancy bed. And she's like, what? So it wasn't a dream? Where the frick am I? And the sus red-haired brother was like, hey, you're awake. Since you seem to have quite a lot of life force in ya, I'm gonna just like a smoochy smooch. And then like the mature brother kind of just walked in and is like, boink, you with a book, don't you start with her. Or with your nonsense. And he's like, what the frick? I just wanted a taste. And he's like, no taste for you. You stupid, stupid younger brother of mine. And then they explain the world that they're in. They're in this world of monsters, basically. Where all the creatures you've heard from like the myths and the legends, they're all found here. And she's like, you don't expect me to actually believe that, right? And then he's like, well, you better believe it. Because now we also can't risk letting you be alone. So you're coming with us to monster school. I don't know what was my obsession with taking characters to like school settings, but that was an obsession. And she's like, yep, there's monsters. I saw a werewolf. I'm pretty sure I saw a zombie. I don't know what the heck that is, but that thing has wings. And a whole lot of nonsense ensues. And like she meets like this like one character who has beef with the brothers. And she's like, what is going on? And then that's all I got further into the story, but I knew how I wanted it to continue. At some point there was gonna be like this clan or something of like vampires. Again, I was stupid and I didn't know how to write stories too good. I added way too many things to like a single story and overcomplicated literally everything. And I don't even know what I'm drawing at this point. I knew I was supposed to be drawing this character, but like they don't look like anything like I'm imagining, but it's fine. And it was like it was weird, man, the way I thought this out. Through the story, she keeps seeing this one vampire dude, like this one blonde guy with like red highlights. And she's like, huh, something about that guy is familiar, but I don't know why. And like you'd expect that the love interest would be like one of the dudes and like one of the brothers, because, you know, kind of reverse harem vibes. But no, it turns out it's that vampire guy who only gets introduced like freaking every once in a while in the story. And it's so weird because like the romance literally started when she was like hecka young. She was like a kid, and I was like, why did I wrote this? I was very young, okay? I can be an idiot. And like he's actively trying to stay away from her because, you know, blood, of course, vampire. Yes, vampire. You know, worried for her well-being. He's like, yeah, you just stay away. Plus if my mother, quote unquote mother, it's not really his mother, just someone who took the role of the mother of the vampires. It's like, if she finds you, I feel like she'll do something bad, and I don't know why. I have that feeling, I just do. So to be safe, I'm gonna like when they first met, when she was like hecka young, he did like drink her blood. Weird, I know. And like he's like, I don't want her to fear me, so I'm just gonna remove her memories of me. Because that's how it worked, I guess. I don't know how he did it, but he did. Vampire magic. And yeah, she forgot about him, but then when she remembered, she's like, you're my friend from the past, the one who always was there for me when my parents, yeah, she has like mommy and daddy issues. She's like, it's you, woo. And then he's like, no, I can't be with you. But she's like, but I want to be with you. And then he's like, dang it, fine, I'll be with you. But, you know, we have to defeat my clan to prove to my mother that you are worthy of me. And she's like, that sounds complicated, but we'll do it, woohoo. And that's what they did. It's the weirdest stuff that ever happened, but it happened. And that's how the story went. I didn't know how it was gonna end exactly, though, sadly. But that was the story, and it was weird. It was so weird. I mean, I wrote a lot of weird stories. Like the very first story that I wrote was like a FNAF story. And I feel so weird. So hold on, wait, let me take a sip. That was not a sip. So it was like a hike. And again, I don't know what was my obsession with like school settings, but it was an obsession. And it was basically FNAF characters that were like slightly human looking. And they went to school. Oh my gosh. And like at some point I did like an insert of like myself. And it was so weird, man. Like my character was just there to be like a teacher or something. It was weird, to be for real. Huh. I'm thinking and failing. Okay. It was and then my other, I kind of consider my first story as well, is this one where I was like, it was like an insert version of me, but magical blue wolf. Again, I was obsessed with the color blue. I don't know why. I'm cringing at myself, honestly, but I mean, what do you expect? And and the story was straight up a ripoff of like this Minecraft series that I saw a long time ago. Where like it started off the same way, where it's like, oh, you know, girls starting up a club. There's a rival dude club, and they have these laptops that she needs, but they're being meanies and not lending them any. And some weird nonsense ensued. At some point, my sister convinced me to make a ship canon, which is like the main antagonist dude and the main character, and I'm like, I mean, sis, I keep saying her. I was like, why do you make me do this? And she's like, cause the chemistry is way more higher. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's the other two. And then she's like, yeah, I don't give a frick. And I'm like, dang it. Okay, fine. And yeah, that's how the story went. Just rival clubs, enemies turned to lovers, and at some point they went to a cruise. I don't like this one. Hold up. Again, I questioned myself when I was younger, but I question myself even more now that I'm older. Cause now I have a job. I'm a responsible adult. I do YouTube on the side now because why not? And my creative mind took me to those places when I was younger. And I mean, my present stories aren't any good. Let me tell you one of my closest stories that I'm writing. There was you know, I want to do something. Let me see how that looks. Sure, I'll keep it. Should I keep it? Nah, actually I'll not keep it. So, one of my newy stories. Well, it's kind of old, but not really. Is actually, which one do I want to talk about? I'll talk about, it's like one where it's like a tournament where a bunch of like contestants who want to be God have to find a human. And basically, how do I describe it? They have to win this tournament and like be supervised by like the god, the actual god, who's like going to relinquish their position as god when, you know, when a person wins the tournament. And like it was actually genuinely a kind of a cool story, but it was like I overcomplicated things a little bit because I couldn't think of like good tournament ideas. Cause like the best one I got was them climbing up like a whole lot of stairs, and they're free to use their powers against each other, and whoever was like the last two to make it basically have to like fight to the death, and whoever loses is dead, and then the other person can continue with the tournament and hope that they can still survive, unlike the person that they defeated. And like the main character was gonna have like a funny dynamic with the god that they were working with, because the god is like so oblivious to a lot of things in the world. Mike's, this is not what I imagined, but it will work. And I'm like thinking so hard and failing to think at the same time. Should I get them sharp ears? I'll get them sharp ears. And yeah, it was basically just a tournament to see who becomes God. I think it was honestly, it sounds like similar to this one anime, but I didn't know about that anime until, you know, I made that story myself. And it just so happened to have like a similar premise, I think. At least I think so. No, it has a different premise actually, I think. I don't know, I can't remember. And but yeah, it was a funny dynamic of just like this human guy trying to teach this like shut-in of a pre-god is what I called them, you know, one step away from becoming gods. like how the human world works, that the fact that, you know, wearing clothes that aren't, you know, like the ones that they're wearing is kind of weird because then people will think they're cosplayers. And whatever. And yeah, and it was like a funny dynamic, and like it's the main character has trauma because they feel responsible for their friend's death because when they were like it was like a crazy accident or something that involved like the main character running into the road. The main character's best friend was like, "Oh my god, I gotta save my bestie." Saves them, but in return, I kind of got hit by the truck. Oh no, am I gonna get isekai'd? Probably. And the weird thing is that the best friend, or the god, the pre-god that he's working alongside with, he's forced to work alongside with, looks exactly like his friend that died. So whenever he looks at the god, he's like, "I can't, man. It's just so difficult." And like the final last tournament idea thingy, in order to successfully become the god, is if the human like basically snaps out of like this fake reality that the god put them in, you know, a reality that's ideal to them, where all the things that they wanted in life were there. So for example, his dead friend now is alive. Wow. He's like, they both are now like, you know, working and running this cafe that they dreamed of, you know, they dreamed of like owning. But the fact that, you know, the main character still remembered, you know, the pre-god that he was like partners, but he's like, this isn't right. I know this is the world I wanted, but it's fake. Where the frick is my friend? The one who I'm working alongside, the pre-god. And then he found him, and the god is like, wow, I'm impressed. Usually a lot of people take the deal of just staying in that ideal world, but you didn't. You stuck by the side of the god, and that proves to me that this god is capable of winning the hearts of humans if they won yours. And woo, you know, that person retired, and now the new god is the pre-one, who's now actual god. I can't draw bandages. And yeah, what the frick am I drawing? This is the most simplest thing I've ever drew in my life. Maybe it's because I just stuck to the similar color palettes. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, that was that story. I've questioned my life more than ever. And you know, I can't really think of anything else to add to this drawing. So I guess I hope you enjoyed watching me, ? And yeah, the next time I draw, I probably will try to draw something with a better planned idea. But yeah, this was supposed to be like a character that I wanted to make introduced, where I basically revived someone and failed miserably. But they don't look like how I intended them to look, but it's close enough. So yeah, this is the fastest I've ever drawn something. I usually take a whole day just to draw something properly, but this only took me an hour. I'm kind of proud of myself. Maybe it's because I've been talking and just fastly doing it without caring. It's not the best drawing, of course. It's kind of sloppy, but it's fine. It's fine. So, I better not catch